This technique is called spiraling twig. And this technique is a bunch of ideas and concepts of how to lock up different joints of the body, starting with the fingers, going to the elbows, shoulder, and wrist. So this is against a rear bear hug. And unlike the bear hug and crashing wings, where my arms were free, but I was able to use the elbows against the radial nerves, the arms are so high that that doesn't work. So I have to resort to other tactics. So I'm going to do crashing wings. The beginning is I step out and I attempt to break free of those arms, but I see that they're too high, there's no effect. So I use my middle knuckle strikes to strike into the metacarpals of the hands of the aggressor who's grabbing me. So I strike, trying to provoke an opening, a reaction, so I see those fingers. Once I see the fingers, that gives me the idea to grab a hold of the fingers and step a little further and deeper into my stance as I shift and I break. From there, I'm going to take my two hands and I'm going to create thumbs facing up, a grab onto my opponent's right arm, and I'm going to pull it straight. Okay, past me. Again, you're going to see this on Sensei Gabe, so it'll make a lot more sense. So I have now the beginning of what's going to be a wrist lock. Okay, I'm going to step off to my left with my left leg, slightly off to the 45-degree angle. I'm going to anchor my right elbow, catching above my opponent's elbow joint. Okay, so I'm going to step and I'm going to torque my hips a little bit here to give a little pressure, which is the wrist break, elbow break, or elbow hyperextension. Then I'm going to take another step with my right to the same degree angle there, and I'm going to shift into a wrist lock. Okay, from that wrist lock, I have the wrist locked, the elbow joint locked, and now the shoulder locked. I'm going to pull it to my right hip as I deliver a front ball kick to the solar plexus, and then I'm going to pox out, slap down, checking the arm with the left with a rising knuckle strike, rising sun punch to the face. Okay, from there, I would just simply step out and cross back on board. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this on Sensei Gabe. Spiraling twig. So he grabs a hold. I first attempt my first lesson of crashing wings. It's not working. I take my two middle knuckle strikes and I start to dig in to those metacarpals. He flinches, I see the fingers. I take the fingers. First lesson, finger breaks. Okay? From this, I go to my second lesson. I continue anchoring my left elbow around this arm. I take my thumbs, face them up on top of Mr. Gabe's metacarpals, and I pull tight on that arm, straightening it out. Now, my elbow joint is slightly above his elbow joint, so I'm going to flap that wing down, anchoring the elbow, stepping to my 45-degree angle. I want to pull him down with me. You hear that little step that his right leg just made. That's a good thing. Now my right leg steps back as I continue nice and tight, noticing how I'm keeping my elbows tight against my body, anchored. I have him in that wrist lock now. So wrist, elbow, shoulder. I then deliver the front kick, I slap the arm down, and I deliver my rising sun punch to the temple, jaw, or whatever given target there. Making sure that I hit with the two knuckles and obviously not the top of my hand. Not good for me. Boom, cross out, and step back on guard. Okay? We'll give him one more angle on this one. So I step, attempt to break, knock, who's there? There are the fingers. Break them, shift, pull, got myself in a position for the wrist lock. I utilize that joint lock, make him take that first step around, now I have him in the wrist lock. I pull his wrist and my arms to my right side, pulling him into the kick. As I land, box out, and strike with the rising knuckle punch. Okay, box out, step back on there. Sir. Spiraling twig.